It's recording now.
Yeah. If Homer calls you at any point, let us know and you can just go off, because Bart is probably doing something.
Oh, yeah.
Alcoholic Sean, he's got a red nose and yellow skin.
Oh no, it's not picking him up now. It's not. It's given up with you, Sean.
It's all the sake he's been drinking.
Look at my eyebrows.
Yeah, but it looks better. It actually looks better on your phone than he does in his camera.
That's what I mean. I don't understand why. Because he's on my camera. He's very yellow, like super yellow.
I'm just gonna go with it.
I like it. And this is our friend, Mr. Jaundice. I still can't get over those eyebrows. Look how colourful they are. They're literally with the bottom of the screen. I could put up shelving with those.
Put up shelving with them. The very hungry caterpillar.
You do like some sort of Bond villain. Very impressive.
Mr. Bond.
Hello everyone and welcome to yet another Warped Ones episode with our regular content we're trying to keep up going. We've got a special guest with us today. We've got the one and only Jon Summerfield, Captain America himself, as he's known in the Bugle chat.
Yeah.
He's just got back from Atlanta, haven't you, mate? You did quite well over there.
Yeah, great trip.
Yeah,
Knackering,
good.
but so good.
Have you recovered?
I think just starting to actually. It's supposed to be like anywhere from 3 to 5 days. I think because I kind of went back and went straight back into work. It's been a bit rough.
No rest at all. Jesus.
I mean, what is it now? 8:30, 8:45. I'm ready for bed. Got me tea.
That's the stage.
We're Warhammer players. We know how to live it up, mate.
Yeah. This is it. Not 20 anymore, fellas.
I know.
We all know that feeling. Yeah. Oh, God.
Middle-aged.
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely amazing trip.
Yeah. There was a lot of support going on in the chat for you. Everybody was sort of like, well, how's he doing? Like, we wanted hourly updates and everything.
Yeah. It was, to be honest with you, like, I was totally blown away because, like, the support I got from you guys, even though, like, I've only met one or two of you, don't even know a lot of the guys, you know, and then there's the Bugle chat as well, my own club over at Powerhouse, you know, that you're talking probably around about 100 guys, and then you've got the Plymouth lot. Like Cross Swords as well, we've got quite a good relationship with a lot of the guys there. Like when you come to like a lot of the Bugle comps and stuff that are local RTTs, you'll see all these guys circulating around those local events, and there's an amazing little community here of 40k gamers, purists, and real sort of diehard hobbyists that kind of, I think because of the geography of Cornwall and Devon and the accessibility to games, it actually encourages a real nice little heart of 40k community down here. Yeah. Without really trying, I think just the player base is actually really quite genuinely nice.
Yeah. I think Martin's helped build up that quite a lot in the last couple of years with his Bugle Bash and everything that he's done. Actually, we're going to get him on soon.
Martin. You know, Martin's had an amazing journey, and I'm very glad that I met him early on in my journey, and was supporting of Bugle for certainly the first 2 years of my kind of competitive gaming journey, as it were. And what he's done for 40k in Cornwall is unparalleled by anybody previously. And he's had good support. I know he's got a lot of people close to him that have like encouraged him and pushed him, and supported him. I mean, even me and Mikey, like every time he does a bugle bash over at the community hall, me and Mikey are the ones that get in the van, get over to his early in the morning, get all the scenery, all the maps, get the tables out of the van, set up the hall, put all that out just voluntarily to help him, pack it all away, get it all back to his place, buy him lunch. You know, we're the ones that do that. And I think in order for someone to be successful like that, you need those little, you need people to buy into what you're trying to do and believe what you're trying to do. And Martin's just amazing for it all down here. He's really sort of elevated it.
So
He's still
he is, isn't he? You two sometimes in the chat. It's, I mean, I love all the. It's the same with us in our Walk Fronts group, and this is like one of the things, isn't it? You've got a bunch of guys, and the camaraderie and the banter is just, it's fantastic. I think, and I honestly do believe I could put a message out right now in one of the chats and say, guys, my car's broken down, I need help, and someone would be there from the chat.
No, I wouldn't.
Well, not you.
No, I absolutely wouldn't.
On the bugle chat, because we would
Exactly.
Yeah, work it on one of the other ones, not on ours.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that's true. You know, people would say, unlucky, mate, or you can't park there, or something like that. And someone will come.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't tested that theory, but I think that you know, it's that community, isn't it, that the Warhammer's brought everybody together. So
yeah. I mean, I think as well, like, not getting too deep into it, but like, there's a lot of guys that have had like mental health things going on, and as soon as any of that drops in, like, actually the guys are on that really quick. So whereas they might leave you out in the rain for a day if your car's broke down, actually, you know, there is a good support network there, and you'll get a lot of PMs, messages. You know, guys will be checking on you, and they'll be doing it off their own back the next day. And that's something that's invaluable. That is.
I think Sean can attest to this. I know we've sort of take the piss out of each other quite regularly, and most people would think we hate each other, but through some of the things that Sean and myself have been through, we've actually been quite a sort of rock for each other actually over the last couple of years since doing this, I think.
Well, yeah, and also at this moment in time, poor Sean seems like he's suffering from jaundice. So we're
so this is your support
we're here
group.
For you, Sean.
So I just need an intervention because clearly I've drank too much recently. The job has got me down.
I mean, you've got a red nose and yellow skin, mate. Lay off the booze.
It's like,
I mean, you are
like
literally
talking about
glowing.
Simpson.
I tell you what, come and do my job and tell me to lay off the booze.
I think we need to buy you a new camera, Sean.
Yeah, a new camera. I think is all you need to probably look better.
Probably just fix. Oh yeah, or just I could just
Actually, I think it's pretty cool, and you should just stick with it.
Thank you, fucking thank you.
I mean, it's an improvement over Lee last week. What was that? 3 FPS, Lee?
The good news is no one's going to recognise you out and about, Sean, from this.
Well, they might confuse him with someone off Crime Watch, dodgy CCTV.
Have you seen this man glowing down the street, Roach?
Have you seen this Lego figure walking around?
Everything is awesome.
Everything is cool when you're part of a team.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
So John, we're going to go right back to the beginning of your 40k journey. Tell us how you got into 40k. What was it that enticed you in? Did you play when you was younger? Did you have that love as a child, or did you come in recently?
So it started off when I was oh my god, a young teen, and my parents, so I must have been 14, 15, and my parents for Christmas bought me 3rd edition 40k. It's the one that's like the classic one where you've got red rulers and you had
was it Black Templars on the front of that, wasn't it? I'm sure it was Black Templars.
I believe so, and a yellow background largely.
That's right,
classic. I think a lot of people like our generation remember that image, even if you didn't play that edition.
Second edition for me.
Classic. I think it's 2nd or 3rd, maybe. I can't remember, but one of the originals anyway. And obviously, as a 14-year-old kid, I was completely and utterly blown away by how complex it was. But nevertheless, got into it with my dad because we were playing Hero Quest before that, and I actually quite liked Hero Quest. So I guess my journey started with Hero Quest. But obviously, going from Hero Quest, where you've got a gargoyle, a barbarian, a dwarf, and a wizard, to here's here's basically sell a kidney to buy an army of 40k and paint it all up. I mean, I was using the little metal enamel paint pots.
Yeah.
So basically everything just looked completely shit.
Yeah.
Dripping in paint, way too much paint, really bad.
No undercoat.
No undercoat, just straight on raw. It was bad. Actually, looking back, it was bad.
Yeah, yeah.
And we used to think dry brushing white everything was like revolutionary, but yeah, that's nonetheless that's where it started. And I happened to have a friend who was quite nerdy, a guy called Mark. He really loved his gaming, so we were into like computer gaming at the time, on Nintendos and Sega Master System and stuff like that. And I got him into playing it because obviously with the box set you get 2 armies, so we went at it, and the passion of it kind of grew from there really, until eventually I had a Eldar, Space Wolves and Chaos Army, which went on for probably about 2 or 3 years. I'd say I was pretty much like any other plastic crack addict, just going at it. New models, everything was leads in single blister packs then, or you buy.
Yeah, I remember that.
In a box, they're all green mounted boxes, the old classic stuff. And it sort of stopped when I got into playing like county sports like badminton, and got quite good. I got okay at football, but I enjoyed it and it took a lot of time. Girls,
yeah,
took up a lot of time, socializing and stuff like that. So I actually found that I just naturally kind of dropped the 40k. And
I think in your early 20s, when you sort of an older sort of 18, 25, Warhammer's not cool.
No,
it wasn't in our generation anyway.
I think my message would argue even at over 25 and when you're into your 30s, Warhammer still
we just don't care anymore. All right,
well,
now it is.
Yeah, I think you just don't. It's not marriage material stuff, is it?
I had exactly the same debate about an hour before my wife went out earlier.
Yeah, so skip forwards probably, so I probably played it until I was sort of like, from 14 to 17, I'd say, on the back burner every single Sunday. Used to go to drive to the shop, buy a cooked breakfast. Me and some mates would cook it all off, and then we'd play Warhammer for about 4 or 5 hours on a Sunday. And we did that religiously every Sunday for probably 2 years.
It's a fucking dream.
It was. I used to just go to the shop, say, "Mum, here you go. I bought breakfast. Can you just cook it for us?"
That's even better. You don't even have to cook it yourself.
She used to do it for us meticulously, because we were all hanging from the night before as well, so we needed that before we could get on. But good few years in my life that was. But yeah, skip forwards, probably 28 years. Bloody hell, that's a long time. And I am sitting out in my front garden, and I live in a cul-de-sac, so my front garden, I'm looking at all the neighbours' houses, but the sun hits the front. So I'm just after work one day, just sitting in there, minding my own business, having a cup of coffee, just doom scrolling on my phone. And my neighbour, Mikey, walks past, and sticking out of his bag is a Chaos Space Marine Codex. And I was like, "Is that a Codex?" And he went, "Yeah." "Do you like 40k?" And I was like, "Maybe." Within 5 minutes, right? He's not even taken this book into his house. I'm reading it with my tea. And within 20 minutes, I'd gone on Amazon and bought myself 5 Raptors, a box of Raptors. And that was probably 3.5 years ago.
It gets you like that. It's always someone else's fault.
Probably,
Simon.
I don't know, 500 games and 20 grand later, we are where we are.
Only 20 grand.
Easy one. Easy 20,
yeah.
Probably.
I'm not letting the wife watch this one.
Yeah, no, she's all right. I think she knows. She turns a blind eye.
Yeah, because the way I say it to my wife is I could be at the pub drinking every night. Instead, I'm sat here painting toy soldiers.
It's when she says, "I'd rather you're in the pub drinking every night."
Oh no, Simon's wife says to mine, no, it's fine. We'd rather than just sit there and play together.
So that was quite a while ago. But I was right at the early days when I started playing, which was right at the very end of 8th, start of 9th. Like literally, the Chaos Codex was really old. You had like the Loyal 22 or something like that. I think it was the guards where they could have knights, custodes, and guards all in one soup army. That's that sort of era. That's when I started. And originally I used to drive to, but my dad lived in Helland, so I used to drive to Bodmin, which was on the way, and there's a little club out in Helland in the little community hall where Bodmin Gaming Group, I think they play there, and there's probably about 8 of them every week, and they play a few different formats. But nonetheless, I got one of the guys that my dad used to play badminton with is actually a very, very good model painter, and he played some 40k. So I messaged him and said, can I have a game with you? Like, I'm completely new, completely not a rookie. I've got my army together just about, which was chaos at the time, and I had 10 Warp Talons, 5 Raptors, half a Rhino, some Terminators, Abden. That was pretty much it, really. The rest of it was all just not painted, not built, or not even bought yet. I was just like, do I want to get into this? I'll try and get a game and see how the community is, and see if I can get regular games. Because unfortunately, I'm the type of person that needs to have the models behind me to be able to do what I want to do on a tabletop. So I can't, like, I mean, I'll proxy. If I was playing any of you guys, I'd be like, oh, I'm proxying.
And we don't mind that at all.
12 Centurions or something like that. But,
no, you fucking can't.
It would definitely be 18. But you know, like the early days, I never could do that. So I was always kind of like, do I want to commit into this or do I not? And how do I feel about it? And actually, there was a really, really small group there, but nonetheless, it was a starting point for me. So I used to go there on I think it was a Friday evening. I think it's still going on. It was a Friday evening, and I met a guy there called Luke Workman, who is actually in the Bugle chap. He's moved away.
Yeah, I know Luke.
So Luke, lovely bloke, met him there, and there was another guy called Ant who played Salamanders, which is what I was playing as well, Salamanders. So we had a bit to talk about, and they were going to a Mad for Miniatures event. So it was a ITC registered 2K, 40k competition, just a one-day RTT. And it was actually, if you've been to Mad for Miniatures, it was actually upstairs around the back, which isn't even open anymore. I think it's just all derelict up there. But there was about 30 guys there. It was mental. So like Paddy was there, Paddy Barron, he's a big 40k player down here. Martin was there, Matt Rowe, like loads of guys from all the local clubs were there. But anyway, I walked, I'm bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and I was playing Chaos. And what did I have? I think I had 3 Disco Lords, which at the time were like secret sauce. So I went in with this full hardcore meta. I'm going to smash you all type list, and didn't smash anybody. So I played my games. I played my first ever competitive game was against Chris, who's actually in the Bugle chat, and he was running orcs, and he had loads of these. Sorry, he had loads of these shot cannon orc guys that were firing squigs, and they just basically killed whatever they looked at, which was really cool. So played him, then went on to play Nev with his soup Custodes list and lost that game. And then I went to Matt Rowe, who was playing Black Templars at the end, and I won that one. So I went 2-1 on my first comp. But that's when I met Martin, Ben, Nev, all that lot, and then I got talking to Martin, and that's when I went over at that point. Then started going over to him because Martin was just really encouraging. He was like,
yeah, he is, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's weird. I mean, he treats me a bit differently, I guess, because he's always giving me shit. He always gives me shit, Martin. But he always messages me after with a little wink. He's always pushing me the right way. He knows what he's doing with me, which is good. Even to this day, like you'll see in the chat, he's always giving me a lot of stick. He's always trying to put some bait out. He's always trying to wind me up. Sometimes he succeeds, and I'm like, next time I see you, I'm going to kick you in the leg so hard. But that's really when he started taking off, and Bugle started growing and growing and growing, and all of a sudden, Bugle out of nowhere got this massive momentum. And he had, like, I joined, Luke joined, Paddy, Nev, Ben, Martin himself, George from, who at the time was, I think Cross Swords or somewhere like that. But George is big. Like, George is probably one of the best players in the Southwest, if not.
Oh yeah, I know George. I've played George.
You know, he's probably
absolutely smashed my face in.
Like, I mean, you know, if I was like, I would like to play George. I think me and George would learn a lot from playing each other. It would probably take us. I think when you get to a point where you're playing quite a lot competitively, like George is probably on autopilot a lot of the time, and every 1 in 10 games he'll be like, okay, I'm gonna do some.
Oh, we've got Sean, never mind.
You know, I'm gonna have to concentrate here, or somebody's pushing him, you know. So and there's a lot more now, you notice, in the community as well, especially now. All of a sudden there seems to be an awful lot of actually quite good players around, and I think because the meta's shuffled and it's a lot more balanced now. Like, if you put a good list together, you've got what I would call a puncher's chance. You know, even if you're playing a far better player, you can still perform and still get your 50, 60, 70 points. Even though you might lose still, you can still score your points. Whereas you go back to 8th and 9th, you'd get, you know, a better player with a good list. You get 10 or 20 points off them, and they're getting 100. They're just going to smash it off the table. So I think a lot of that has changed in 10th, you know, where there's secret missions available. This is all designed to not really affect the top end, but what it does is it affects the start and the middle, I feel, where it gives more accessibility into 40k and less pressure at those lower mid tiers of competitive play, where you can score points, and you can, like we've talked sometimes about, you know, it's not about get 20 points. Next game, it's about trying to get 25 points. And it's about trying to get 30 points. Don't try and just win a game, because if you're playing good competition, you're not going to win a game for a while. And I think, you know, Martin helped kind of foster that mentality, really. He would do internal competitions. We did I can't remember what it's called now. We did an internal one where all the Bugle players randomly played everybody for a champion. I think he did 2 or 3 seasons of it, but it was great because all the players, you had a competitive element, everything was back repped and filmed, and then you had this competitive element in the team as well, and a lot of banter going with it. But you would be like, oh, actually, you know, in a week, Adam, me and you are going to play, and then Simon, the week after that, you're going to face the winner of our game. So you don't know, Simon, who you're facing. We've got to play. We'll play our game. Simon won't know the result until one of us turns up.
I can tell you now, if me and you played, Simon, you'd be playing John.
I wonder. Yeah, that sounds great. It sounds good.
But, you know, I mean, it was really nice, like internal community stuff. And then I did a whole last calendar year, I was with Bugle. And I did a whole year of really trying to play better. So I just wanted to I just set myself some really simple little goals, like win more than I lose, try and get minimum of 60 points on a loss, little, nothing dramatic, just little benchmarks, steps.
That's really good advice. Really good.
And that was my kind of philosophy. Was, and I've always tested, like, you learn more from your mistakes than you do from your wins, or your losses than you do wins. So I sit there because I'm just like, I've lost more than you. You know, everyone's like, oh, now, like, Jon's winning. I'm like, yeah, but I've lost way more games than you have. I've just been playing more frequently or longer or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I always, as well, I'll play anybody, and I'll always look for diversity. So, like, I'll be like, oh yeah, I haven't played Votan. Well, who do I know who's got Votan? Who's got Necrons? You know, but that's what I mean. Like, I don't try and just play the same guys with the same armies all the time.
Yeah.
I literally directly root out people I know who've got specific armies. Like, if something's top meta, like Simon, if you're playing Muscle Beach, for instance, I'd be like, Simon, we need a game. I'm fully prepared to go into that game and lose. Because I'll just be like, right, I need to throw this unit into that unit, and I'm going to see what happens.
See what happens, yeah.
And if you kill that unit and I lose the game because of it, I'll be like, okay, I can't handle that unit, which means if I go into that army again in a competitive setting, I know I need to throw a Vindicator in and that unit, or I need to have fight first, or I need to be able to screen deep strike, or whatever it is. You learn from your losses. So, you know, like, a lot of the games I've lost outside of competitive play are usually because I'm being like, okay, let's see what this unit can do. Here you go. Here's 10 chosen and a lord. Can you kill it? Can you kill it? Yes, you can. Okay, I've lost the game, but now I know. That's the bit that sticks with you. You know, if you nearly kill it and I still win the game, you don't really remember that, because it's impartial. But if something surprises you and you're like, I didn't see that coming, that's the stuff that tends to stick with me. And it's just from doing that and reps, getting your own movement right, getting your data sheets in your head right. You know, like, I'll struggle. Like, I played a game on Monday night with Mikey, and I changed my list and I put different units in that I've not used before. And he was constantly like, have you got that many attacks? Have you got that? What's the strength? And I was like, bloody hell, I don't know. Whereas normally I'd be like, this, you know, I just know it. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if you're not playing the same thing frequently, you're going to have those you're going to carry those mental blocks going into a game. So it's really, really does pay to just be, this is my list. I know what it does. I'm just going to play it against Custodes. I'm going to play it against Votan. I'm going to play it against Necron. And you know what? If I lose against Necron and I nearly lose to Votan, but I win, and I lose to World Eaters, I know that when I go to an RTT with my list, I need to try and avoid Necrons and World Eaters. But if I go against Votan, that might be a green game for me, because I know I can beat them. And then you start being, as a player, you're like, oh, my confidence is actually there because I know I've got a chance of winning this game. But some armies are just designed to just beat you.
Yeah, you know, sometimes it's just an unfair matchup, isn't it? It's just the way. Yeah, it's like a big game of rock paper scissors, really. So you know, rock will always beat scissors, but then it might beat something else in turn.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's the beauty of an art. Like Martin does an RTT. Now, a lot of them, they used to be just score 100, and whoever's got the most, 300 points will win you an RTT. Because no one can do better than that. If you get 3 wins and 100 points, and 98 points, the 3 wins and 100 will win. So it's very, very simple to understand the mechanics of it. It's wins and then points. But now you have this thing called strength of schedule. Whereas if I play Simon game 1 and say I win that, but it's a close game, and then I play you, Adam, in the final, and I win that.
No, you wouldn't.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, if I do and it's a close game,
yeah.
Simon then has lost his other 2 games, as an example, my strength of schedule will come down.
Yeah.
So even though I may have won all my games, your opponent's wins, losses affect your results quite wildly, especially if you're like in the top, like a podium potential. They can really knock you down. Last RTT I played at Bugle, I went with Grey Knights and I won 3 games and I came 3rd, I think. Just not because the guys, I had more points, I think, over the 3 games, but my strength of schedule was lower because I played 2 relatively new guys. So it does, it does have a, it can swing things around a little bit, but yeah, I love it.
I think it opens. I think strength of schedule as well. It opens it up to people who might not normally win as well. I think it makes it a little bit more balanced in some ways. But obviously, I think if you're going in with your 300 points, thinking, "Oh, I've done like the best," but it's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, I think, and that's why Martin does it.
Yeah,
specifically.
Yeah, I agree with it. I think it's the right thing to do, to be honest.
Yeah. It's more balanced. It's only rough. It's only rough if you're podium in a podium place, and you do as good as you can, and you lose because one of your opponents has maybe had a bad game where they might otherwise win. But on a one-day RTT, I think what I've learned this year is they're just fun.
Yeah.
Don't take them seriously. Just go and have fun. Yeah. If you want to take them seriously, if you want to play a competitive game, go to a GT where they're doing scores over 2 days of 5 games. But your one-day RTT strength of schedule, just take a different army. Don't take yourself too seriously. Just go and have fun, because they're more of a social, community-based gathering. Don't get me wrong. There's always going to be someone there that wants to win. There will be. It's usually me. But I think this year I've learned, like, nobody cares. Like,
yeah.
Actually,
I think that's the key thing, isn't it? I think no matter how good you are, you just still have fun. That's what Warhammer. Well, that's why we play with toy soldiers in the first place.
Exactly.
It's for fun, isn't it?
It's a hobby, and we're all there for the same reasons, for a day out with the lads. Yeah. Playing toy soldiers away from the struggles and the concerns of everyday life.
Yeah.
But I think quite a lot of people. The trouble is as well. I think the danger of being a nerd is that you're always thinking and you're always in your head. So it's not always easy to actually just go, I'm just gonna have fun today.
Yeah.
Because no one actively wants to lose a game. No. I would never throw a game. I might lose a game, but I would never throw a game.
Yeah.
I don't think. Apart from against George, I did throw a game. Never forget that. He will never forget that. Yeah, Martin will never. Yeah, I was playing. It was the beginning of this year, actually. It was one of the worst losses I've ever had. Not in terms of points. I had 3 Forge Fiends, and it was me and him. It was the second game, but it was really the final game, because I think I was playing a strong KSM list at the time with double ACDC, triple Forge Fiends. I'd just come off the back of a GT win as well, so I was pretty confident. But George is like a white whale for me, really. I think we've played 3 games. He's 2-1 up. He's beaten me twice competitively, and I've beaten him once socially. But anyway, I decided, for whatever reason, I reserved all these 3 Forge Fiends, and him being Drukhari, he screened out the entire board. I didn't get them on the table. So 500 points of Forge Fiends didn't even get on the table. Now, if I had just deployed them all, probably would have won that game. Quite probably, because that's 5 rounds of 9 D3 exploding blast shots, in everything. But for some reason I decided to do that. Yeah, get back, and credit to George. He saw the opportunity and he screened out the entire board.
Yeah, but that's a learning experience for you, isn't it? You'll take that and probably never make that same mistake again.
That's my grave.
One of those mistakes.
Yeah.
So if you ever see Martin being like, "Oh, have you deployed your army, John?" I'll be like, because it's exactly what he's talking about. He's reminding me in his own little way. He's reminding me of the fatal
we've got a few of them, haven't we, Simon?
Absolutely, more than.
But again, you learn from that. I've never made that mistake again.
Yeah. Simon once forgot a whole psychic phase back in 9th. had a psychically attuned Eldari army, and
I was only playing Eldar.
Got excited to shoot, went straight into shooting. By the time he realised we were like balls deep into the fight phase, it's like, well, we can't unpick it now.
Well, I mean, we could, but we're not gonna.
You're not going to. Yeah, they weren't that nice to me.
Well, yeah, the whole psychic phase used to be great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when the
Great fun.
trouble when you build your army to be Ulthway and you put everything in, I'm going to be doing psychic, and then you forget to even do it. That's a little bit painful.
That's back in the days when we not long started, I think. And
Yeah, that's
lots
right.
of mistakes happening.
But
We
again,
don't talk about those dark days.
I'm pretty sure we've all done that.
Yeah,
Of course we have.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
I think 40k is such a huge game with so many moving parts. I think no matter what level up, mistakes are going to be made one way or the other. You might forget one simple rule. You might make a movement judgment error, or you might forget a whole psychic phase, for example.
Yeah.
And that's where you hammer it out in your casual games, really.
Yeah, but that's also key to like if your list has got a good foundation, don't change it. Just play like I'll do a list and play everybody you know with that list, and try and play as many different maps and as many different people as you can. Don't change anything, because all the baggage you have of the stats, the data sheets and everything like that, you lose that when you play reps with the same models. So actually your thought process becomes a lot lighter, because then you're just playing the game.
Yeah.
Because you're not trying to play the game and remember your rules and concentrate on what your opponent's doing and his or her rules. You're just worried about the game and them. So actually you've got a lot less on you, which makes you a lot freer to make decisions quicker.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense.
And then you become more accurate in what you're doing, because you know your models move 6 inches, not 6.5, and off you go. And you can really start knuckling down the quality in your gameplay, which a lot of people, I would say in Cornwall, like I'd say our standard, like there's actually a good standard down here.
I think so. I think even the casual scene's quite brutal in some ways.
Yeah,
it's very if you want to learn, I think definitely go out and play. Like I keep saying to Simon and Sean and Lee to get into the Bugle chat to just arrange games with the different people, exactly what you've been saying, and get out there and play more in a casual basis.
Yeah, I mean,
I've been playing a lot of armies.
Yeah, if you've got access to that and you're passionate about playing, like you'd be silly not to. Even if you aren't necessarily the most social person, at least open the door and get involved in the chat and dip in and out as you want. But that's where you'll meet a lot of blokes and play a lot of games, and you get that diversity and those friendships will build. And there's different levels of access as well. You don't have to play at the top. You can play any level you want. Now Martin has his Wednesday night training camp at his house anyway, and he'll have anywhere from 10 to 15, 16 guys over there on a Wednesday night playing, from 1k to 2k.
Martin's house is like a TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside than on the outside. The amount of tables he's got in there.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, like my early days when I started playing right at the end of 8th and 9th, I used to play Mikey a lot. Yeah. Every single Monday morning we used to play, and he used to just batter me every week without fail.
Yeah, I remember you telling me this.
He was like, there's no, you won't learn if I go easy on you. And I was like, dick. But he was right. Because, again, it wouldn't work on everybody, but the type of guy I am, I was like, I'm going to fucking beat you in a minute.
Yeah.
And I'm going to enjoy that. And lo and behold, I did eventually beat him. And then he would beat me 2 more times, and then I'd beat him again. And then he'd beat me 1 more time, and then I'd beat him again. And then over the time, it got to 50-50, because Mikey's actually, I won't say it to his face, but he is actually a really good player. He's very knowledgeable. And the assault phase, he's probably one of the best down here, Mikey. But thankfully for us, he doesn't run any guns in his World Eaters list, so I just shoot him. Oh, look at those! An exalted 8-bound coming out from their little hidey hole.
You hear that, Simon? I might beat you one day yet. I'm coming for you.
That's the thing. Like, if you keep playing, like you'll know the ins and outs of what Simon's army does and doesn't do. But also, you can build in, like, if you're running Votan, instantly you could get some Jaegers in your list and just screen out all of his deep strike, all of his turn 1. The problem with GSE is that there's almost no risk for just full sending turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely. I made that mistake just the other day, didn't I, Simon? He was in my deployment zone with his Patriarch and about 3 units into my 3 units, because I'd staggered my movement to stage, and he just capitalised onto that, multi-charged, piled in, and before you know it, it was.
And then you're trapped. Yeah,
And then,
a 6-inch consolidation into something else, and
Yeah.
you're done. Do you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
nice.
I mean, like,
I probably could have unpicked it, but it would have been about turn 3 or 4 by the time I'd have got out of that mess, really.
yeah, and that's the thing, right? Then it's turn 3 or 4, and he's already ahead on the score. It's like Eldar used to win or Harlequins actually used to play, like a total glass hammer. Used to come out and absolutely beat the stuffing out of you for like 2 or 3 turns, score 60, 70 points really quick, and then they'd eventually just die. And then it's a case of, can you score 50 points in 2 turns? Now I'm off the table. Can you outscore me? And GSC do that a lot. You know, they die to a stiff breeze, but they come back and they can't, you know, and they have tools. Like, they really have tools. They can slap. So it's and like, you just need to look at was it the Leicester Super Major that's just happened? Was it?
Yeah.
And Ben Jones was playing, you know, Muscle Beach or whatever, and he went into Alex Fowler, I think, with T-Sons, and Alex was just like, through the game. They played the game out, and Alex was just like, I'm just waiting for you to table me here. Like, I'm just waiting for you to table me. Got no chance. And I think he had literally Magnus on the table, like 2 wounds at the end of the game. And then Ben scored his last turn and then he played Josh Roberts, who's arguably one of the best players in the world. Amazing player. Works for Games Workshop, obviously. Is involved in the rules and everything like that. And he conceded turn 2.
Wow.
There's no way I'm going to win this game. Like, it was on, I think it was streamed.
And then we went straight back and changed the rules.
Well, I don't know if he will, but he's just like, it was an interesting pick for Josh Roberts, because he plays, I got to meet him a bit in America and on the flights, and we've chatted since. And he's a really grounded, lovely bloke. Insane player. I'd love to play against him just to learn. Really, just to learn, because he's so accurate, knows the rules, plays 4 or 5 times a week, you know, play testing, playing 4 or 5 times a week, and that's just the next level that he's at. But what I would look to be like, do I want to go to the next level? Can I go there? And what do I need to do? And that's what you need to do, is play 4 or 5 times a week. And the reality is, as a dad too, and a working man in Cornwall, I got no chance.
Yeah.
I mean, probably Adam will attest to me, but I'm always fishing for games, always messaging. Can I play? I can play Monday nights and I can play Friday days usually. And I try quite aggressively to make sure I've got a game on those 2 available times, because it keeps my hand in.
So what I'm hearing, John, is that we need to do our next back rep of you and Simon GSC, and we'll film it, and we'll invite you on. Yep.
I've never played GSC. I've not. Well, apart
there
from,
you go. It's on, boys.
I haven't played them.
There we go. Simon and John, we'll film it for the channel.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
We'll sort something out. Yeah.
Yeah, love to. Yeah. Love to.
Awesome.
But you know, I mean, for Josh to concede, well, because he still had most of his army on the table. He literally just shook his hand and conceded. He just said, I cannot win this game. I can't win this game. Because I think what he did is he killed a load of Ben's stuff and he rolled all of his 4-ups and they all came back. Yeah. And then Josh was just like, the game's over. Like,
I know what that's like. So, I was playing Simon a little while back.
The secret sauce.
I think it was about 600 points you brought back one game, and it's like I'm almost playing a 3K, 2K versus 3K game there. It's like I just don't know what to do about that, really.
I think any army that has the ability to come back is pretty rough.
But then on the other hand, we've had games where you've barely made that roll at all, Simon. So it's apples and oranges, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And they're changing it soon, so we'll see what they change it to.
Yeah.
I think they just need a little rewrite. I think it's quite a good. It's nice to see GSC on the table. Yeah,
I agree.
You know, I think it just needs tweaking. It just needs balancing. It doesn't need to be so oppressive. But I don't think. I think like I'm not played against it. But my issue with it is that there's no risk for just throwing your entire army down someone's throat turn 1. I don't think you should be rewarded for that. I think that should be risky. I'm not saying you can't still do it. You can't still win the game, but it should be risky to do that. If it works, you win the game. If it doesn't work, you lose the game. and
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite balanced enough in that equation, maybe. But again, I've not faced it, so completely inexperienced opinion there, just from what I've seen and what I've heard, really. But yes, I love the game, Simon.
As a player, I agree. Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah,
I agree with you. Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
So, John, we're going to go talk about Atlanta a bit now. Tell us, you got there by winning the Bristol GT.
Yeah, won the Bristol Super Major. Went up there with Mikey and Liam from Powerhouse. There's 3 of us went up. Wasn't expecting anything, not at all. Went up there with CSM, Renegade Raiders, relatively new book, and I'd done this list which I had some good results with at home, and I was like, it's really balanced. It's not really good into Necrons or really good into NIDs or anything like that. It's just really, really balanced. But we've been playing on Glasshammer terrain, so when we went to Bristol, I was on UKTC, which was very new for me. But boy, could I stage with my rhinos and Chosen hopping out and just slapping into everything I wanted to. That was amazing. And I had quite a tough run, actually. My first game was a mirror match against quite a nice chap who was running Renegade Raiders as well. And I was super nervous. Went first on, I think, what was it? It was the one where it's quite easy to get 15 points on primary at the end of the game for going second. So I was like, oh, bloody hell, I'm in a lot of trouble here. I need to make sure that I hit him hard early. Anyway, I took his home objective, turn 1. So I made my charge, picked up a Vindicator, a Predator, killed 10 cultists, and my block of Chosen were on his home objective on the other side of the board, turn 1. And I was like, wow, okay. So then basically his entire army from point forwards had to go like this, delete this 10 Chosen, at which point then I got the board and started scoring points and everything like that. But when I got over that game, the nerves in that first game, I actually sort of found a bit of a rhythm. And I said to the guys on the way back, long story short, after 7 games, I said I found myself mentally in a state where I just knew what I was doing every turn. I didn't even second guess myself. The only blip I had was in my final game against Mark Crumbleholm, who's one of the top players in the country. Lovely bloke, plays Necrons, Hypercrypt, and others, but largely Necrons. And my first 2, I went first again, and in my first 2 cards, I drew like completely unachievable cards. So I was like in the final, Bristol, unexpectedly there, and so disappointed that Mikey and Liam were sitting watching. They almost had to sort of say like, "Come on, John, like you've got this. Like don't let it get to you. Like stay above it." Really, really tough game. He had Satans and 3-inch deep striking, destroyer, spam. But I managed to win the game and won the golden ticket. So we had started playing at 9 o'clock that day. We finished playing dice down. I think we were at the car at about 11:30 at night.
Wow.
And I was in Bristol, so then I had to drive back. So I was working the next day. Because we never expected any of us to actually be there for the final 2 games. So we would have finished at 5 o'clock with everybody else and been home for dinner. No. So I ended up like sleep driving all the way home. It was pretty but I put the trophy in the back seat and put the seatbelt around it.
Keep it safe.
And
Mikey didn't have a seatbelt. He took his off him and put the
But at that point, like, to be totally honest with you, at that point, I had no idea what I'd achieved.
Yeah.
No conception for it at all. I think it was one of the guys was like, "John, you got the golden ticket. What is it? What is it? Is it flights? Is it?" And I was like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about?"
I remember that actually. You was like, "Have I? I didn't even know you'd won it at first." I think.
Yeah. So I was like, I thought it was just a bloody RTT. I got my trophy.
You thought you was going to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, didn't you?
Bugger off back to Cornwall, you. That was it. But yeah, when I found out I had this golden ticket, because on the way to the car, Mark was actually like, "Look, if you can't go, let me know. I'll go," because he would have had, being second, he would have had first dibs to it. I would have had to have given it. I would have had to have given it to him if I couldn't go. days after I got back, I plucked up the courage to ask the wife if I could go to Atlanta. I said, like, I feel crazy saying this because this is toy soldiers, but it's going across the planet to play against the best. Like, can I go? I'm never going to do it again. You could play 100 super majors and never get anywhere near winning any of them. So to win one, and a big one as well, 300 player super major, was amazing, absolutely amazing. Lucky, lots of luck involved, good play involved. You know, all of that. You need all of that. You need good pairings. You need luck. You need the dice to go your way at the right time in certain games. You need so many factors to go your way to actually win these things, especially over 7 games when you're playing competitively at a good level. Because these guys, some of these guys, I played Ed Watts in the semi-final. He's part of the England team, you know, and he was running 200 bloody Black Templar list. I'd never faced it, and he got there because his list does a very mechanical thing. It does it really well. I think he took like behind enemy lines and homers, and he just mass infantry runs at you and just ties you up, out OCs you because he's OC 1,000,000 in every unit, 20 strong, 5 up, feel no pains. He just kills you. You can't do anything. But he said, nothing's killed me. And I killed him to the model off the table turn 4. And that shows how lethal my list was. Absolutely savage. It just looks at stuff and kills it very quickly as well. At the time, it got nerfed quite a bit. It got nerfed almost immediately as soon as I got back. So actually, I think I did a summary with Martin from Bugle, and literally moments before that, they dropped the nerf for CSM, and I was literally like, oh, shit. My list went up 250 points. Like, it was a proper slap for my list. Some things you would expect to go up, others I was like, wow, what's that? I mean, the unit of Warp Talons went up 50 points. I was like, Jesus, like, well, that's really heavy. It doesn't need to be that heavy because they hit the rules as well. So they hit the rules and the points, which was pretty bad.
That's a double whammy.
Yeah, they just do one or the other. They did it to Chaos twice, actually. Used to have ACDC, so they nerfed the points, they nerfed some rules, and they removed all the god marks, so they hit them 3 ways at one, and that's when they were trying to bring Eldar down, but not really achieving it. So, and then they hit Chaos 3 times for that, and Necrons, obviously the Wraith spam was really popular then as well, and they didn't touch that. And I was like, wow, you know what? I don't quite understand what they were trying to do in terms of like a balancing thing, but
yeah.
But it's been a good ride with Chaos, and I think the testament to the Codex. The Chaos Codex is just brilliant. There's so much flex. Like the Nids and the Necrons, I'd say they're probably the 3 best. They're so good. Like, there's loads you can do, loads. But yeah, when I won the Bristol, got the golden ticket, put the courage to ask the wife. She said, yeah, begrudgingly. Probably never think I was actually going to go. And then I was like, well, what does it involve? What is included in the golden ticket, and what do I need to do to actually get me there? So the golden ticket was flights, return flights from any airport I wanted, but obviously Heathrow, because it's going to be Heathrow, Gatwick, right, to Atlanta. So I was like, okay, I need to sort out accommodation, fuel, car parking, food, to just travel money basically. So I cheekily set up a GoFundMe page, because I was like, I can't get there else. There's no way I can do that. Because even if I went and ate bloody porridge every day, it would probably have been a $2,000 trip. So I was like, I need help. So against my pride, I kind of set a GoFundMe up and put it out there.
Yeah.
And the support I got was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely unbelievable. People from 30 years ago in my past were putting in 20 quid, 25 quid, 10 quid, 100 quid. You know, Martin was one of the first 100 quid straight away. And I was like, that tells you everything you need to know about Martin right there. You know, all the powerhouse guys all chipped in. Robbie was like trying to set up. It did fall flat on its face, blessed, but not without Robbie trying. We tried to do an actual game day, like a little RTT, where everybody would pay 20 quid and 10 quid would go to the club and the fund and would put some food on, and then 10 quid was going into my GoFundMe to help me get there. It's not for spending money. It's not for me to get pissed every night. It was literally to get me there. But yeah, I think we raised about 850 quid, 900 quid in the end through the GoFundMe page, which is insane. Absolutely insane. Amazing support. And then the trip itself, 24 hours door to door it was to get there. The way back was a lot longer, but the way out there was 23 hours, I think it took, from when I left my house to when I put my shoes on the floor in the hotel bed and kind of just flopped straight onto the bed. Hell of a journey. Flight was lovely. Then we had to get on a MARTA, like their tube, if you will, and then a short walk around the corner to the hotel. So it was pretty good when we were there. It's quite quick. But yeah, it took a long time. And we had snow on the M5. It was the snow day. So because my brother came with me, which was lovely. So I obviously had the accommodation and I'd done the car and the car park and everything. So he said, like, John, I'll get a ticket and I'll come with you. So he bought a plane ticket, and then the rest of it I was doing anyway. I'd already done. So he basically just hopped in with me. But I'm glad he came. My brother was, he was a real grounding rock for me. It was like a safety blanket, really. I won't tell him that because he's 6'4" and ugly as hell. But yeah, it was great.
He's going to find out when he watches this.
It was great to have. It was really good to have him there. And we had a day just to chill out and sightsee, kind of. So I wasn't knackered. I didn't want to arrive and then start playing the next morning. So we went a day early just to sightsee, and we did the aquarium, we did the Coca-Cola factory and stuff like that. Chilled out, got our bearings, and then that night we had the kind of opening ceremony. We went down to this hotel is just colossal, absolutely colossal. I think it was 25 stories high. I was in room 1398.
Wow.
And I was on floor 18. They're just insane place. And when you went to the lobby, you had escalators go down into a massive conference area, which could hold 1,000 easy. And then you went down again, and that's where we were playing.
Oh, wow.
So, like multi-story car park with a mall on top of it, sort of size. And that was just the hotel. It was insane.
Everything's just so much bigger, isn't it, over there compared to what
different world.
we play in Bugle Village Hall.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
There's a bit of a difference.
I took some videos and stuff and got as much content as I could. And thankfully, my brother, he actually did a lot. He did a lot because obviously I was playing for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
So he did an awful lot in and around his kind of like gallivanting off, looking around Atlanta, and then popping back in to check in on me, and then going off again, and then coming back. And then we'd always have dinner together, or a breakfast and dinner, basically. And in between, he was off sightseeing while I was
playing with toy soldiers.
Yeah, playing with soldiers. Anyway, the award ceremony was just the welcome ceremony. We all got these gift boxes. And we got our one-off World Championship coins, it's insane. Honestly, they're so cool. I got a golden ticket, which is really quite special. Loads of like exclusive tokens, measuring tools, objective marker. Not objective, like wound markers, loads of stuff like that. Notebook, and I've got this custom 3-inch ruler, which is like 2024 champions type thing. It's embroidered, just metal stamps. It's pretty cool. Got those bits. We all had name tags on because obviously in this event there was 76 players in
wow.
but they're all multinational. So you had like Malaysians, Koreans,
Did
Australian.
you come across any language barriers at all or anything? Or
Yeah, I played a Mexican, 2 French, an English, a Canadian, Czech guy. Who else did I play? Oh, an Italian. We'll get to that game in a minute. That's the one that got away. That is. But yeah, it was amazing, massive award ceremony, and they did it all by country. So they started off alphabetically, but they left the United States until last because of 190 players were American, and there was a lot of Canadians there as well. I think there was about 30 English, 30 Spanish, loads of French. Like the French were definitely the best team, like the best team.
yeah.
They were coming around in the morning with massive silver platters full of croissants and stuff. Like really, really cool.
I know they in the World Teams Championship they were really well looked after as well. They had their own chef who was like cooking pasta for them in between games and things.
I bet he was. But they just had a really good spirit and a really good team mentality. I think that's the thing I would say is about the English team is like there wasn't a lot going on. Like everybody was kind of a bit individual. It was a bit sad, really.
Yeah.
Very English. There was a few of us did get together in the end, but I guess I was outside of that. There was a few there of note. There was Lewis, who I played game 6 with his Tau. Lewis he came 4th at LGT. Can't remember his surname, but he was the English guy. But we had a thing because you weren't really supposed to play people of the same country. So so he was late to our table because he was trying to see if the parents could get shifted so that we didn't play. Because obviously he had individual points, but he also had country points as well. So the idea was that you were never supposed to play a fellow countryman for that mechanic. But it was game 6.
You're Cornish.
This is it. So it was game 6, and they just said no, get on with it. You just got to play it, which was okay. We had a great game at the end, but yeah, it was really diverse, and there was a lot of language barriers. But
how did you overcome that if you're sort of playing a game that relies on communication being a factor?
Because everybody was told to speak English.
Right. Okay.
And that was the language of the competition.
Makes
so
sense.
pre-competition, we had video calls like this with all of the player base in, led by Zach and the team from Games Workshop, and they were like, this is the rules, this is how you do this, if you're not sure, you don't do that, and setting up all the groundwork before. So you had to be able to communicate in English, otherwise you wouldn't have not been able to go, but you probably would have conscientiously made the decision, I'm not going to go because I can't communicate confidently in the chosen language across the game. So
high Gothic.
Yeah, because I mean, even then, like I had one game, which I'll get to in a minute. I had one game where the language barrier was really rough, and it's amazing how you find a way to communicate while still playing 40k. It's almost a universal language, even if you can't actively understand each other normally. But yeah, so we had the awards ceremony, which was a huge deal. All the countries going up, everybody getting their coin, shaking their hands. Really lovely atmosphere. Everybody really pumped. This room was just insanely huge. So you had.
I know. I saw the pictures, and it was amazing. It was like a football stadium.
Yeah. So you had and this is on the second basement floor. There was like 3 of these floors. It was just insane. So on one half of the room you had 40k. So you had 300 people playing 40k in one half of the room. So imagine all the tables and how much size that is. Yeah, and then on the other side you had Kill Team, Age of Sigmar. I can't remember if it was a 4th. I think there was just the 2. It turns out Brits are really good at Kill Team because we won that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the English won that. A young lad, very young lad, he must have been 15, 16 years old with his dad. He won that, which was great. But yeah, so they did all of that, did all the announcements and everything. That was held by Zach I want to say Zach Ross now. I think is like CEO for Games Workshop or something like that. He's very high up anyway. He did all the presentations, all the awards ceremony. And then we all retired for the night. A lot of people went to the bar and had a drink. And then we all went back and got ready for the next morning. They didn't do pairings until 10 minutes before the round started. So you can imagine the anxiety.
Yeah.
Everybody's basically having a panic attack.
Yeah. I feel like that just going to an RTT. We're at the Bugle Village Hall.
It was absolutely insane. And the reality is, I mean, my goal, I went there very openly with the goal of just trying to win a game.
Yeah, and you excelled at that.
Game. That was the goal, because everybody there was me or better. I mean, that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
If you make a mistake, you lose the game.
Yeah.
There's no second guessing it, because they're that good.
Yeah. No take backs, nothing like that. No.
Well, there was take backs because you played to intent, and actually, if I was like starting my shooting phase, or this rhino's going to do containment, and then I'll accidentally shoot the havoc launcher at something, I'd be like, oh no, sorry, I said he's doing a containment. He is. I've only shot havoc launcher. Let's not get dramatic about it. I mean, that didn't happen. But if something like that did happen, because you played to intent. Because I've already said earlier in the turn, this rhino is doing a containment. That Mork Talon's doing a containment. I've already said it, and then I've gone and made a mistake because I'm in the phase of shooting. So I'm just making sure I'm being accurate.
Simon knows about that.
There was a lot of that going on, but in the spirit of the game, is that you would allow that at home, you would allow that in a competition.
Yeah.
If you didn't allow me to do that in a comp, I'd probably be proper ratty with you. I'd probably tell you what I thought of you straight to
kick him in the leg.
Well, I'd definitely tell you what I thought of you straight to your face, because I'd just be like, you know what, if the rest of the game is going to be like that, you'd be a dick about it, because it's not like I've cheated or not already declared it. So you should always play to intent. Now, there's things you can do. People will try and use that against you sometimes, unfortunately, but there's ways you can play the game to mitigate a lot of that, like pre-measuring. Like if someone's like, oh, I'm going to charge this unit over here, you can stick your ruler down and be like, oh, that's 18 inches. You move 6, so you've got a 12. You can advance. Okay, you get a 3, so you've got a 6-inch charge. So irrelevant of whether they end up with a 4.5-inch charge at the end of their movement phase, we know it's 6. It's fine. Things like that actually will save you a lot of games.
Didn't that happen to you in the Bristol tournament where somebody deployed too far or something against the train?
Yeah, my very first game, he deployed illegally. He said I couldn't charge him through the wall with my chosen block, which got on his home objective. He said I couldn't charge it, and I was like, I can. You're in the wrong place. He was like, no, I'm not. I'm up against the wall, an inch away. I was like, no, you're 3 inches outside your deployment zone, mate. At which point his face was like, oh, yes, I am. Yeah. So that was, but a while ago I would have let that go.
Yeah.
It would have cost me the game. So it's about knowing when to press a matter, how to press a matter, and that's a lot of that's trial and error, and having good guys around you that will call you out when you're being a dick or trying to get away with something, and you know it.
Yeah.
And they don't let you get away with it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's what makes you be a better player down the line.
Yeah.
So all these games, all these losses, all the arguments have all shaped. And then you decide what type of player you want to be as you go along that journey. I've always wanted to be a nice journey. I guess I lack confidence I'd always quite often ask people, have you had a good game? Did you enjoy the game? The problem is that usually when I play a game, I don't win every game, but I win a lot of games. So you're always asking someone that's just lost if they enjoyed losing against you. It's like a bit of a hypocritical thing, but it's not to be a dick about it. It's to genuinely ask, could I have made the game better for you as an opponent?
Yeah, just don't turn up.
Yeah. Oh, John's sick.
I win.
Yeah, that's it.
No, I've played you a few times now casually, and I think every game I've had with you, I've had my face smashed in, but I've took something from that and learned from it. So it's never a loss as long as you're learning something, I think, and certainly
Well,
you've been part of that journey for me as well. I'm still there, I'm still journeying.
Yeah.
And it's what you take from those losses. You think, like, I made a mistake, I'm not going to make that again. I'll look at how the opponent plays, what do they do, and what do I implement from that into my games.
Yeah, but also you can ask questions, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can ask them.
I think I did that with you. You had one guy, we played when you played Grey Knights for the first time, actually, and you had one guy, and you said, right, I'm going to auto pass this guy. And I said, why are you going to do that? What value are you getting out of that? And then you went on to score a shitload of points with him. So there was value in it, but it was something that, from me being not as experienced as you, I didn't actually see that on the board, whereas you straight away had seen that. And so just by seeing you do that, that's then opened up a whole world of me seeing things a bit better.
Yeah, I think like tactics around core mechanics, everybody can benefit from. Obviously, the stuff that Simon's GSC will do that I can't do with my army, it just functions differently. But if he does anything core based, like heroic intervention, where he might choose to fight first, why is he going to save a model? Why is he placing something way over there? You know, because something I want to look at moving forwards is actually like, what secondary cards have I got coming up? And where am I positioning stuff? Because quite often, in fact, almost every time I'll position to kill something or take a primary, I will not be thinking about secondaries at all until I get the cards and I'm like, shit, I'm out of position. So my next thing.
And we've all done that, I think.
I think people do. I think everybody does.
My biggest problem, I think, and this is a mistake on me, is I have played Votan, it's my #1 army. The bikes, the uppy downy, and straight away I go to the opponent. It's my turn, opponent's finished, and I think, right, draw the cards. Shit, haven't picked my bikes up. But most people are generally good enough, because there's never a point I would not be picking the bikes up, even if it was to put them back in the same place.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. And like pre-game, like even at the Worlds, a lot of people would be like, look, I want to tell you now, the Riptides will always be overcharged. Unless I specifically say they're not, they are always. But then I'd spend the game being like, take your hazardous checks. And that's the difference in a player of more experience. Is like, okay, cool, but take your hazardous checks. Because you're rolling ones now, and now you're taking it because you've declared to intent that you are doing that. That's fine, you get the benefit of that, but you're also going to take the risk of that. And you know, not a lot of people would necessarily do that. But like with Votan, everybody knows the bikes are coming off the table. They're your main scoring piece. So just declare pre-game, look, my bikes will every game be coming off at the end of every turn, be coming off the table. They will. And even if you forget, then you're covered because you're playing to intent, and most people should just honour that. Really.
And it's easy to get caught up in things. We've all done it. You think, right, I've drawn this secondary, right, I'm going to go off, and by that time you've forgot a key aspect of that scoring, that you're going to pick the bikes up and put them down again. Or in my case, sometimes I'll draw my cards, pick them up, and put them back down exactly where they were, just because of screening. I can't score with them this turn, but they're going to screen my back line out. Yeah,
exactly that. And I think then the difference is that if you want to leave your bike, if you declare that your bike's coming off, but then all of a sudden you think tactically, actually they're mid-board and they need to stay there for like screening out the center objective, and you can't pick them up. You're like, this unit is staying here. So you're specifically addressing the instance rather than talking about what you generally have already declared. And I think in playing to intent is a big thing. And it should be honoured wherever it can. If someone's said, and I would always allow it if it was in phase. So if it's the start of your shooting phase, you've gone, they're going to do a containment, and then at the end of the phase, they're like, actually, I need to shoot this tank because I haven't managed to kill it, and I need to kill it. I'd be like, that tank's containing. I'm not telling you you're making a mistake. I'm being a good player and a friendly opponent and saying, just to remind you, you've declared it's doing this. As soon as you actively shoot that tank, your containment will stop. Are you doing that? Yes or no? That's what I'm asking you. And then you conscientiously as a player go, I need to kill this. I need to kill this tank. So yes, I'm going to shoot that because it's worth more than me for 3 points, because it might win me the game, or it might score me primary, or it might deny you primary. And it's a 5-point swing versus a 3-point game. You know, yes, it's worth it. But as a good opponent, it would be like, you know, don't forget you need to do that. You haven't declared you're doing your actions anyway. That's nice things. Now,
Yeah.
if you're in a heated game where it's really like at the tip of competitive level and any mistake or misfooting is going to cost you the game, I would then just choose to be completely silent. So I wouldn't say anything positive or negative. Like I had one particular game where I was playing at the beyond the level I ever thought possible against Justin Moore, who's ranked number 3 in the world. We are in a great game. Absolutely, he pushed me so far. I didn't say anything because I would give away. I talk too much. I give away too much.
My problem.
I was like, I really want to win this. If out of all of the games I've ever played, this is the one I want.
Yeah.
Did you win it?
I did, yeah.
You did. There you go.
Yeah. Best game of my life. That.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. Awesome.
Would you do it all again if you went to a GT next season and got another golden ticket? Do you think you'd do it again?
I probably wouldn't go.
Would you be allowed?
I think. Just give me 1 sec. I've got to plug my laptop in. 2 seconds.
No worries.
Would you go, Adam?
I don't know if I'd be allowed. What about you?
I don't even need to think about it. I definitely won't get a wooden spoon. I might win, but not a golden ticket.
Yeah. I'd end up with a broken. Well, we've got a GT we're going to in fucking Barnsley in March, all the way up there. I thought it'd be a good idea, and I'm driving back, so we're going to be hammered after that. I've got to get Simon back
Where's
for work
that?
Monday. It's fucking about 6.5 hour drive away.
What are you doing that for?
Because we're twats. Thought it'd be a good idea.
He said, "Do you want to go to something?" And I said, "Okay." And then he told me where. There's this stupid issue with that.
Yeah,
So
Exactly.
currently,
going back to intent, always ask them what they intend before you say yes. That's
I
the
just
issue.
didn't really think it through. Like, 6.5. I've got to pick Simon up from work. We got another guy coming with us, Mike. So I'm driving us all up there, 6.5 hours. So we'll be on the road for about 4 o'clock. Get there about 11:30, I reckon, at night. Sleep straight into 3 games of Warhammer. Then the next day another 2, and then drive home. Get Simon into work for 9 o'clock Monday morning.
Brilliant.
It'll be fine.
We got so going into Atlanta. Game. Did you want me to talk about the games quick or?
Yeah, go on. We'll go through that. Yeah.
So game 1, I had probably a nightmare draw. It was against Jacob, who was playing Vanguard Veterans, the Long War. So it was a mirror match. Probably one of the nastiest ones for me because his list is massively killy and really good. But what I didn't know when I went in to play Jacob, because I was pretty confident, because I was like, actually, you know what? I'm ranked in the top 5 KS players in the world, I think. So I was like, if I get a mirror match, I've got to go into that game confident, because unless I'm playing Derek, who was the only other one there, like theoretically, I should be able to win the game. It's not about if I could, I should be able to win it. Obviously, the dice and the game itself will determine the winner, but I was like, I need to be confident going into that. What I didn't realise is that Jacob is a WTC Czech team player and bloody good, like really good. Really good. And I was like, oh shit. Went first, and it was drew 2 flat cards straight off the bat. Couldn't score either of them. It was the ritual is what it was, when you got spawn objectives. And the deployment zone had a massive, like, there was no terrain across the middle of the board, but it was in a thin, narrow column like that. So you basically had an objective in the middle, and you had to be able to hop the space to get across the board. And he had obliterators, and my warp talons were deployed on the table because I didn't think about it. And I was like, shit, he can advance and shoot his obliterators with 4 rerolls. He can kill my warp talons before they do anything. And my warp talons, are the way I use them, are really quite tactically important. And his obliterators are damage 4, so I had to keep everything right back because for free he can just kill a tank for free without exposing a single thing, and I can't afford for that to happen because it's quite an efficiently balanced list. So anyway, turn 1, spawned an objective, moved and staged a bit without giving him too much. Turnover, got a load of CP. That was that. Turn 2, I got 2 cards. 1 was scoreable, but only on a baby. I think I had like area denial, and I was like, is it worth sending out 125-point warp talent unit to score 5 points? Probably not. So I didn't. Crept up the board a bit more. At which point I was then saying quite openly to Jacob, I was like, I'm going to lose this game. And he's like, yeah, you are. He said, because I don't need to do anything, because my cards I'm scoring and I've not given you anything to shoot at, and you are having to press the board because I'm going to outscore you. And his turn 5, he'll just get 15 on primary for free and win the game. So I was like, I've got to go for you. Now, normally I would play that game no problem, but the trouble was with his obliterators keeping me back, I couldn't afford to press, because if it had gone wrong, I would have lost the game really badly and very quickly. My turn 3, I went almost full send, and his turn 3 punch back, he bounced. And that's how I won the game, because he bounced. Tactically, brilliant player. I didn't make any mistakes. We were talking. It was interesting. We weren't talking about how I can't win the game because turn 4, 3, 4, 5. We're talking turn 1 and 2 here. We're talking about the outcomes of turn 3, 4, and 5, just based on the secondary cards that I was drawing versus what he was drawing. He was way up on points turn 3. Because I couldn't do anything without being shot off the board, essentially. So I needed things to go my way, and they did. Turn 3 went my way. Turn 4, then I popped his Rhino and Bile came out, and I got 1 Predator into his unit, and it popped off. I think I had 6 autocannon shots, and I got like 9 hits. And he failed 6 saves, and it just killed 3 chosen outright. 6 chosen, just bang, half his unit gone from 1 Predator, which is rare. Ironically, it happened to me in Coventry against Stephen Box, where he won the game. So actually, I don't mind that. It came back my way there. I needed that, but I needed that. And then he failed a load of Dark Pacts with his obliterators, and blew up a Predator. And I blew it up. And what I'd done is we got into quite a nasty combat over on the far side to it. And I had a chosen block over there with a Lord. And he sent his Lord and Legionnaires over, his Noise Marines over, a Predator, a Rhino. And I think he kept Lucius central to do some shooting and sort of deal with Cypher a little bit on the center. But I managed to blow up his Predator. Was it his Predator? I think it was his Predator and the Rhino, and they both blew up. So obliterators D3, Legionnaire D3, Lord D3, D3, Rhino D3, blah 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 blah, because everything was like in this clusterfuck of savagery in the middle. Then his Rhino blew up. D3. So I think he ended up, because I only had my chosen block over there with the Lord. It killed all of his Legionnaire, killed 2 obliterators, the Predator, the Rhino, killed a character, wounded another unit of obliterators, wounded Lucius's unit, with 2 D3, which was not nothing. It was 2 Legionnaire or something like that. But it's a lot of attacks coming out of his list, a lot. And then it was my turn, and my Lord, he had a Lord there, quite a spicy Lord with a 5-up crits wounds Lord with rerolls from the Legionnaire. So it's just death wounds on 5s, basically, with full reroll. So it just slaps anything. And he had it on 2 wounds, so I just grenaded the fucker. I didn't move because he would have overwatched me. So I just grenaded him from where I was stood and killed him outright. And I was like, that's 130-point model there. I've just grenaded for free. And my Lord's only got 1 wound. Lovely. So, and then all of a sudden, Jacob was like, I can't believe, his turn 4 is like, I've lost. I can't believe I've lost this game. all of a sudden he was winning turn 1, 2, and 3. Like in his head, he had won the game. Turn 4, it was like, I can't believe it. And then we kind of talked through the majority of turn 5. We did talk it through. You're not really supposed to do that. We were moving models around, and we said, oh yeah, he's gone there and he's done that. That's fine. That's okay, because it's not going to break the game or anything like that. And ended up winning by 6 points, I think. But yeah, super close, but lovely to win the first game. So already game 1 against one of the Czech champs, and they're actually a very good team, those Czech guys. They play a lot of teams events. So what I realized as well is I was looking them up on ITC to see where their ranking were, because you had even though I didn't know who I was playing, they released all the pods, all the info of the players in the pods before. So you could look out all the players' listings and standings and everything like that. All of my stuff is all on ITC because I play RTTs, GTs, and the odd super major. It's all registered there. But these other level players are all playing teams, and they're all bloody good. They're playing more than me, playing more than a lot of guys, and they're playing nationally. But you look on their ITC rank, and they're like 700th. So they come in, do ITC, they win a super major or something, get a golden ticket, but they spend the rest of the time playing teams or on TTS. So it was really interesting because I was like, I didn't have the respect I had for Jacob at the end of the game versus when I went into it was dramatically different and eye-opening. And I was a bit disappointed in myself that I thought I might get away with it. I won the game, but I won the game because of a bit of luck.
Yeah.
I still played beyond my ability because I had to, because I was in such a bad situation. But I had one bit of luck, and then those 2 vehicles blowing up really took a lot of wounds out of his list, took a lot of damage into his own army as a double explosion, basically.
I mean, that's an extreme situation, isn't it? That doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think even if the Rhino didn't blow up and do another D3, it wouldn't have broken the game. I think it would still gone my way at that point. Yeah. But the fact that it blew up in the first place and like killed 2 obliterators,
that
from
sealed
the explosions. Yeah, because it took 2 models out of 2 units, so it meant then he couldn't hold primary because he was only 2 OC and little things like that. So I was able to like just front bump him with a Rhino and contest objectives and stuff like that. But we're still in the position to do that. I still had to make the plays work. Yeah. The explosion was just like the cherry on the cake, really. The big thing was he just didn't get the dice on his turn 3 shooting. He didn't get the dice he needed. Basically, he was dark pacting, failing his dark pact, and then he wasn't hitting 6s to get lethals or sustain whatever he was fishing for. So he took the damage without getting any of the benefit. So you're only talking about probably an extra 10 or 20% efficiency in shooting for his whole turn, but that's quite a lot. So that was Jacob, and I couldn't believe it. Won the first game, and then got paired into Xavier, who was running guard. I was like, oh shit, I don't want to play guard. I really didn't want to play guard. And he was Mexican as well. Argentinian, Mexican, one of them. Lovely bloke. Had pink Hello Kitty Crocs on. Probably weighed about 20 stone, big beard. Proper nerd. And I was like, okay, cool.
Our type of guy.
Yeah, so we played on the same terrain because they had over the 4 days, the terrain setup was set on the morning of, and then both games for that day were played on the same terrain layout. And then it changed for day 2, day 3, and day 4. So day 1 was quite good for combat armies or hybrid armies because the shooting lanes were quite shut. So GSE just cleaned up. Blood Angels cleaned up. Space Wolves did really well. And hybrid lists, a lot of Tau lists and things like that, like Jack Harpster lost on day 1, I think. Necrons, obviously, with Hypercrypt did really well because they can reposition quite quickly. But a lot of the others sort of struggled. Guards struggled unless they were good guard. Because they just didn't have those abilities to just sit with the big tanks back and just shoot stuff off the table because they couldn't get lines on without kind of pushing forwards and moving into position to do so. So I played Javier, and that was a good game. Ended up winning that one by about 15 or 20 points, I think. Again, went first, which is a real struggle because I'm primary, because I'm quite, CSM are Marines. At the end of the day, they're not particularly durable like Custodes. So when you go first and you've got a kind of rush, you haven't really got that resilience to take too much of a punch. So you have to be very, very careful with what you position where and what you commit at that time, because you've got to expect to lose it. Every unit you stick out from a ruin is asking to be shot in the face, basically. But I managed to use my strats quite well in that game, and actually, like, I've got a strat to fight and fade, so I can, at the end of the fight phase, I can move a unit, or I can fall back a unit. So, like, guys were trying to wrap my Rhino, and they would wrap a Rhino, and then I'd spend 1 CP to fall back, and your Rhino can move through models. So, as long as I didn't roll a 1 or a 2, my Rhino is then 12 inches away from that wrapped area, and you've got 2 or 3 units just in a U shape around where a Rhino used to be, just free for being shot. Super strong, like amazingly strong strat. I was using that to front bump Rhinos and move block stuff. So I could move block like a gap where he's trying to get his tanks through. I can just, at the end of a fight phase, put a Rhino in there. So in his turn, he can't move up the board. Can't go anywhere. He'd kill a Rhino, just melter it to death, but he can't move through it. And that's basically how I managed to beat Javier. Just roadblocked him, unit after unit after unit, just cycling it through. And every time he put like catch and jungle fighters onto objectives, my warp talons went in and just slashed the lot up, and then buggered off, and then came down and did it again. So when I can get my units cycling like that, my list becomes really effective very quickly, and I can pick up a lot of chaff. Where I struggle is killing a lot of armor. Unless my dark packs go off and I hit a load of 6s and you're on an objective, then I really start struggling. But yeah, I won both games day 1, on top of the world. Already achieved more than I'd expected to.
They were longer games as well, weren't they? They were longer games, and
yeah, 4-hour games each. We had, because I think Games Workshop really instilled the spirit of the game. Like, they don't want you to be clocked and under time pressure. It's supposed to be more of a fun. I really got a sense that they were trying to emphasize the hobby and drop the competitive, even though it was the top 1% of players in the world in that room. Yeah, that's what it was, the top 1%. They didn't want that to overtake the spirit of the game. And actually, like, the judges, the judges were around. There must have been 30 judges. They were everywhere.
Were your games lasting the full 4 hours, or were you getting done quicker, do you think? Or?
I think the thing, I mean, when I played Jacob, we probably 3.5 hours. Xavier was probably 3 and a bit. Definitely 3 hours. There was no game played shorter than that, unless you tabled your opponent because he'd made some massive mistake. But the reality is that you're playing. You have to be so measured. Like, every movement you have to scrutinize. I mean, I was poking autocannon turrets around the corner to get lines of sight on units, so that nothing else, and declaring nothing else after it's moved can shoot me. That takes a minute or 2. Yeah, you can't just plonk your model there and say nothing can shoot me. No, it can, because you're sticking out. Right? I mean, getting the angle right behind terrain so that you're literally hitting your target, but giving them almost nothing back on every unit. Every turn, it takes time.
Yeah.
But that's the sort of level of accuracy you need to play to. And if you don't, you lose units. As simple as that.
So where did you finish up in the end? What was your final placing?
I think 54th. I think something like that.
That's still bloody impressive. I mean, just to get there, you've done
I went 5 and 3 in the end. I lost my last game, which was really a bit of a sad way to finish, because I haven't actually lost 1,000 Suns before, but I've only had a few games into them, and as I found out since, there was a few dodgy scenarios going on that ultimately led to me not being able to kill units and then losing the game because of that. So had I had the energy and the courage to challenge that at the time, that game would have been very different. Because he won 14 points, but he scored 15 on his primary in the end of the game because I was off the table. So you take away that primary, and I probably won that game. And again, I went first as well, which is always hard.
Do you think that was down to fatigue, like sort of being there, so jet lag as well? That was a factor.
Yeah, I wasn't too jet lagged, but like because the games are 4 hours, they're quite intense. Yeah. Like you really have to concentrate for 4 hours, and you've got an hour break, assuming that your first game didn't overrun because you only had an hour. So if you were overrunning a little bit, then you were tucking into your break time. So, and that's the only time you had to eat or get a coffee or something like that, and you're back on it again. So the judges were really good about saying, and they did rounds. They were like, you should have finished deploying now. You should be at the end of round 1 by now. So you can always tell if you're ahead of the drum, as it were. The team, the judges, and that they kept that drum going just nice and casually. It wasn't ever really imposed. If you were at the bottom of turn 3 and you were behind, the judges would come and put you on a clock, and the clock wasn't there to intimidate you or scare you. The clock was there so you had a visual representation of what you were doing with your time, and that's all that was. And it's basically
that's really clever. That's a really good
so you can hurry up. And again, it, to credit to them, used in the way that it's intended. It's not intended to intimidate you or upset you or worry you. It's intended to keep you to time. Because one of the big times, like Derek Apsh, the top chaos player, his last game was against GSC. Won the game is because the GSC player timed out. That's how he won the game. Yeah, that's how he won the game. The GSC player had units all over the board, but because he ran out of time, he couldn't move anything.
Yeah.
So he drew cards. CP rerolled it and was like, if I'm in a position, I can score it, and he didn't score enough, and lost the game because of that.
Yeah.
But that's also why the clock works, because he had used all of his time up and Derek still had like 15, 20 minutes to go.
Yeah.
So, you've got 4 hours, you've got to use that time evenly as well.
And that's something that I think Simon and myself, more Simon with his contemplation phase, are certainly probably working on to get better at, is that even just a casual stuff. Well, we play at home, so we got kids and wives interrupting us, but we can be like a normal game 8 hours sometimes, and that's something we have been working on. And I've seen Simon stand there for a good 20 minutes not move because he's just thinking.
Yeah.
It's like
you're playing casually and you're chatting about what you're going to plan and doing, and you're saying what do you think and that sort of stuff. It takes time, doesn't it? And that's
it does.
how you get to know how to play better, I suppose.
Yeah, we're always bouncing off each other.
If you're playing like that, and you're playing more frequently, so say you play once a week religiously, those conversations don't lose their purity, but they get shorter.
Yeah.
And therefore your games speed up. Your games will get faster. Like at the ITTs in Bugle, Martin I think Martin does 3-hour games now, but it's not uncommon to see 2.5-hour games, and you're like, it's not. That's the other side. Like, it's not easy. Like, we went to Crediton, so we got to Curtin. Curtonian Carnage, which is held by Rob Angel, who's got a shop in Crediton, just beyond Exeter. And we got there sometimes. He does quite a few GTs, and he does 2.5-hour games, and they're on a clock, and he's got screens up and things like this. And I went up there with Martin and Paddy, and I took my list because it was like my real kind of last competitive opportunity before I went to America. It was literally the weekend before, much to the wife's pleasure. But like every single game I went to 2.5 hours. I used all the time. One game we didn't finish because my opponent was also like measured, and it was a big game because it was for the win basically. And he was playing Jukari, but the problem is that he had an invuln and feel no pain on every unit. So every time I'm shooting him and fighting him, he's rolling invulns and feel no pains, and I'm doing dark pacts and rerolls. So it takes time. Like you can't speed roll that.
Yeah.
Because he's rolling
Yeah,
20 feel
fancy.
no pains, and then I'm rolling another 20 attacks, and he's rolling 20 in runs, and then 20 feel no pains, and it takes time. And then models
Yeah.
are coming back to life, and they're, so some games just run over. But Martin was teasing me all day because he was just moving 4 Citans around on his games. So his games are done in an hour.
Yeah.
He's got 5 models.
Yeah.
But he did lose to the guy I beat with guard.
Oh, did he?
That was
I bet you savoured that.
Yeah. I was like, oh, did you lose to him? That's a shame. Real shame that is. But we have good bands, and
yeah, we do.
it was really good. So America 5-3, super happy. Came back really proud. Got my wife into it. Even my wife even downloaded BCP app so she could track me on it.
Yes.
Nice.
I couldn't believe it. Honestly, I'm still in shock.
Me and Simon joke, and the day we come home, we find our wives playing Warhammer together. It's like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
But do they? Not.
No.
If they're touching the models, it's to crush them because we've done something wrong, I would assume. So I'd rather never see my wife holding a model, if I'm honest.
That'd be funny. Scary as well. Very scary.
Could you imagine it? I mean, I don't know if that'd be a good thing or not. I'll be hiding my credit card, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think I mean, when they pick up a model and they're just like, oh, what's this? And you're like, it's 40 quid. Put it down.
Yeah.
It's like that meme that goes around and says, a 2k point army. Oh, 2k. I thought you said that was $2,000 in cost.
Yeah. But I think there's such a good community down here. It's lovely.
Yeah, I agree.
That's lovely. We just need to. I think I think there's really something to asking the question: could we all get together and actually take it forwards for the Southwest?
Yeah, I agree.
Because there'll be lots of gamers that are actually really keen, really interested in the lore or playing or getting into it that just don't feel like they have access to it because there's lots of like splinter groups, but there's no kind of like big voice from Cornwall sort of saying like, this is where we play 40k.
Yeah. And it's got a very big following down here, I think. The more I'm in that Bugle chat, there's so many people that I've never met before, but I'm chatting to on a regular basis.
Yeah, and Martin's like a ferret. He goes in and he gets them out. He finds them. He does. He's like a recruitment agency all in one.
He is, isn't he?
He loves it. Yeah, he loves it.
Yeah.
And it's good if we've got like you guys and we've got my team Powerhouse as well. We have a good bit of local rivalry as well.
Yeah.
So which is always good because we're always trying to see who can beat each other. But actually having that little drive is nice because the competitive minded players have something to kind of chase a little bit, which is nice.
It's a social aspect of the hobby as well, and I've said this, and I'm sort of a big proponent of this. It's a very, if you allow it to be, it's not just turning up and playing Warhammer and buggering off again. It's a very social aspect. It really is. You make genuine friends. I've met some lovely people in this who I've now become very good friends with just because of Warhammer.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Yeah, 100% right.
Right, John, I think we'll wrap up there. We've been going nearly 2 hours. It's probably our longest episode ever.
With the guys.
But I think we'll arrange that with you and Simon.
Yeah.
We'll arrange that back with you and Simon. We're going to do a Christmas special as well. I'm going to try and organise something. We're probably going to get Martin on before, and then I'm going to do a Christmas special just to do like a 40k pub quiz. I thought that'd be a laugh to do.
Oh, yeah, that'd be very cool.
Where we sort of, firing out questions and see how it goes. It's bound to be chaos, but...
Yeah, no, it sounds awesome. Yeah, it sounds really good. Yeah, and like Simon, let's arrange a game, and I can meet you somewhere, and we can.
Sounds good.
And I'll come and film it.
Maybe we play at Adams.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good.
I'm up for that.
Yeah, it'd be great. Perfect.
All right, John.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you very much,
lot, mate. You've done so much.
Thanks.
You yourself.
Congratulations.
You've
Absolutely.
done a lot
well done.
for the Cornish scene. I think just by getting that far, you've really pushed us and put us on the map.
Yeah. Hopefully, we'll see who's next.
Yeah.
Well, it won't be any of us from Warped Ones, I can tell you that.
Cheers, guys.
All right, John, I'll catch you soon, mate. You
Yeah,
take care,
it
buddy.
easy. All the best.
Bye.
Bye.
And
Cheers.
Bye.